for the first one. It asks which of these best fits or most likely has a line best fit represented by this equation. My suggestion would be to draw the line that they gave you because it's something you can easily draw. It doesn't really matter which one you draw it on. So this one has y-intercept of 1, which all of these actually have that. And then the slope is -3, so I'm going to go up 3 to the left one, and down 3 to the right one, as many times as possible. If I were to draw that line, and if that was my line of best fit, that means the points would need to be surrounded by that line. A is definitely not it. B looks like it's it, but not quite. It has the negative aspect, but it doesn't fully form that. C is a positive, so D would be our answer there. And I can draw that line again just so you see how it works. All the points are surrounded by that line, so D would be your answer for that one. Questions on that? All the other questions were put it in your calculator, get the line of best fit, and either use the information they gave you to find an answer or just write the equation. So for 11, they wanted you to find the line of best fit. So that was, I didn't mark you off if you didn't write that, but if your answer was wrong and I didn't see your equation, then I did. So in the future, I would say write both. That way I can see maybe where you went wrong. Then it's asking, first off, which is closest to the length of time. It was supposed to be a multiple choice and then ended up not being one. That's why I asked it that way. But we're looking for, if we put 15 in, how many seconds would that be? So I have all of this stuff in my calculator already. I'm not going to reset it, but I am going to show you those steps. So you would go to your stat, go to your edit, and put that data in. So again, I have all of this data in, but mine is in L1 and L2. So if you're doing that, I'll give you a second. Remember, you guys have this data on your quiz, so you don't have to look up and look back at your calculator. You just look on your quiz. Don't worry about L3 through everything else. Just make sure you have L1 and L2 if you're redoing that. I'll give you another minute. Once all of your data is in L1 and L2, go back into stat. Good morning. You're right. You can go down there now. I think you were absent today. I gave out those slips. Take that course with you though. Scroll over to calculate Go down to number 4. Now, my lists are weird right now because I did a bunch of these. But if I do L1 and L2, yours should look similar. Go down to store regression, hit alpha, hit trace, so this menu pops up. Store it wherever you want. I think mine is already in Y1, but I'll restore it in Y1. And then enter until it calculates. So when you write this equation, you don't have to write all the decimals because I'm not asking for the actual equation, I'm asking for the answer. But when you put the answer back in, you shouldn't be putting it into the one you wrote down. You should be putting it back into the calculator. So I'm going to go into my home screen second mode. Wow, except that's not what I did. Second mode. It wanted me to find when the girl is 15. So I'm going to store 15 for X, 15 STO down by on, and then press X by alpha. Press enter. After it's stored, go back and grab your equation that you stored, alpha trace. If you stored it in somewhere other than Y1, grab it from there and press enter. That takes all of the decimals from the original problem, put 15 in for X, and solves it for you. If you don't do it that way, your decimals become off. It did not say whether to round or not, so I accepted 90.39, 90.4. I think those were the only two. Unless it's something that shouldn't have decimals, decimals are okay. 2 decimals is great. 1 is okay. I would say do 2 in the future just to have more data, unless it says specifically to round to a certain decimal. And then the very last thing is to make sure you have your units. The seconds was your units. Questions on 11 before we go over 12. For 12, remember that you needed to change your years to 0, 4, 6, 7, 8. Remember the first year is always 0. Every year after that is how many years has it been since. So from 2000 to 2004, that'd be 4 years. 2000 to 2006, that'd be 6 years. These are easy because it starts at a 0, so we're just putting really whatever the last number is. So right now, you can do one of two things. You can either go back into Stat, go back into Edit. You can go to the top of this and hit Clear. If you hit Clear, it will clear out that list, then you can start putting them in. Or if you want to put them next to it, in L3, L4, that's fine too. So I'll give you a second to put those in. the next step, if you just cleared out L1 and L2, then when we go to the next step, yours is going to say L1, L2. Mine is going to say L3, L4 because that's where mine is. So wherever yours is, that's what you would put. When you're finished putting in your data, go back into stat, scroll back over to calculate, go back to number 4. If you need to change these two, all of your L lists are in 1 through 6. So if you hit second and then whichever one you need, it'll change it. So I need 3 and 4, so I would hit second 3 and then second 4 to change mine. But if you don't need to change your list, you don't need to do that. Scroll back down to store, hit alpha trace. You can store it in Y1. I'm going to store mine in Y2 just because I already have something stored in Y1. And then calculate. And that was the equation you should have gotten. Some of you were getting wrong equations for this one, and I'm not sure if it's you were putting in the data wrong, you were using the 2000 instead of the 0. You missed the number. I'm not sure what happened there. And then I think this asks for the year 2020. Yeah. So we would put 20 in for X. Go back to my home screen, second mode. Store 20 in for X. The STO button, the X button, and then hit enter. And then go back and grab your equation from wherever you stored it, alpha trace. Mine's in Y2, yours might be in Y1. 8.84 was that answer. And then the units was in millions or millions, like either of those would work. If we're looking for the population in 2020, is that interpolation or extrapolation? Extrapolation, because it's not inside the data, it's outside the data. If it was like 2005, that would be inside the data, or 2001, 2002, 2003. Anything that's not there but would be within those data sets. For the last one, we just needed the equation. We didn't need anything else. So for the last time, go back to stat, edit, and put that data in. Once your data is in, go back to stat, scroll over to calculate, linear regression, number 4. My stuff is in L5 and L6, so I'm going to change mine, but if yours is back in L1, L2, change it so that it fits, or you may not need to change it at all. You don't need to store this one because all you need is the equation. You can if you want to, but you don't need to. And calculate. And then when you write this equation, make sure it's in this format, y equals ax plus b, or mx plus b is really what it should be. At least 2 decimals when writing this equation. So 29.41 x minus 162.01. If you put more, that was great. If you put less, I wanted more, so I let you know that. You can round to 2 decimal places, but have at least 2. Do we have any questions on this? You will still be able to use your pink sheet on the test. You'll really only need it for this question, and if you want to use linear regression, if you get a question like the word problem one again. Remember that you're taking all 3 sections of the test tomorrow, not just this one. So parallel perpendicular lines, linear regression, and word problems. Make sure you practice, study all of this today and tomorrow morning. So if you have questions, want to go through Khan Academy, that's math, any of the review questions with me before or after school, make sure you schedule time to do that, and then come see me and we can do that. We also have time in class. You can ask those questions now.